I'm just trying to find the live video real quick. Hold on, I'm gonna try to. Okay, here we go. Okay, welcome to another episode of Love Language the Roundtable. Today is a good day for a lot of reasons. A, you woke up, and B, you woke up. So we're gonna praise the Most High. And so happy Sabbath to those who observe it, those who don't observe it. Happy weekend. So last week, for those of you who tuned in, we had the first of a two-part series, which was called Role Playing Part 1, Becoming a Husband. And so this is the follow-up to that conversation with just the women. So again, so the title today is Role Playing Part 2, Becoming a Wife. And if you're watching online live through the Facebook stream, you're welcome to put your comments in the comment section of the live video. You're welcome to come on if you want and share your thoughts as we go through the questions. And we have three special guests today who, as last week, will help lead the conversation and give their perspectives. Like Shema said last week, we'll be trying to incorporate more people who have actually had the experiences of the things that we talked about. We come up with titles, but a lot of times it's just things that one of us will hear and pass in a conversation we had a long time ago, and we want to bring it to a bigger audience. So if you have any ideas for topics, you can feel free to let us know. You can, if you know us on Facebook, you can inbox us individually, or you can just inbox the Love Language page, which was a good idea. You know, you can just go on there because not everybody's on Facebook too. So, and then we'll get to your question. And if you want to join, that's what I want to say. If you want to join on here, you have the option to have your face or not. But there's a link in the details portion. It's a Zoom link. If you click on that, then you can join us as a panelist or just be present. That's another way to be present as opposed to just being live on Facebook. What was I going to say? So, okay, so yeah, so again, the topic is role playing part 2, becoming a wife. And just like last week, the framing of the conversation is kind of tongue-in-cheek, like the whole role-playing thing, but even using the word becoming before husband and wife is intentional. So, because nobody's born a husband or born a wife, right? We come into the world, we might be born a son or born a daughter, but we're not necessarily instructed in how to become these roles that ultimately are the foundation. Like Maurice Shalene said last week, which I thought was excellent, the household becomes the foundation for the nation. So whatever you believe about who we are as a people, we should acknowledge that our families are broken in a lot of different ways. And so this platform provides a public space for us to stop whispering in the corner about what's wrong, but to come together and offer up not just pointing out the problems, but also suggesting solutions that can be implemented in real time right now. So I'm going to read the synopsis for the event, and I'm going to introduce the sisters that are with us that took time out on a Sabbath to share with us their wisdom, being wives and stuff. And I'll let them introduce themselves. But so the details are, as time goes on, the rules concerning gender roles have become more and more fluid, especially in Black households. What are some common assumptions about the role of a wife? What does it actually mean to be a wife? When considering marriage, what should a husband look for in a potential wife? So same questions as last week, but just switched it up to speak towards the woman. And so, Shamika, you said you was cool being first, so you're gonna be first. So, so the order will be Shamika, Kawana, if that's okay, and then Kyle. And so we'll go through the questions, but if you all could just start off by saying a little bit about who you are, whatever you want to share, and how long you've been married as far as introduction. So I'm gonna mute myself, but Shamika, you got it.
Okay. Shalom. Hello. Peace to everybody. I am Shamika. I am married to John, or John Boy, as most people know him. We've been married for 13 years and some change. We have 7 children. And that's about it. If I'm open, I'm going to just say, to me, being a wife is not a cookie cutter thing. Depending on the household, it changes, your role changes, your duty change. So I pray that whatever advice or experience that I share today can help in some sort of way, or at least give some type of insight. With that, I'll yield.
Kawana?
Oh, okay. I'm introducing myself.
Yeah.
Shabbat shalom, everyone. Shabbat shalom to all the panelists, and peace and love to everybody. My name is Kawana. I'm married to Moray Shamar, or you'll probably find him on Facebook under Cross and Neely, with Fortified Spirit in Rockford, Illinois. I have a total of 20 years marital experience. We're pregnant with our first child. And I'm trying to think what else. I had like a whole spiel, but I forgot. But anyway, just good morning, everybody. I just hope that everything that we share today is something that will fall on good soil, that it is something that will help other people as they're considering marriage, or if they're already married and are considering their roles and trying to define their roles better, that we'll be able to help everybody have maybe some clearer direction, if we could possibly offer anything. So and I definitely agree with Sister Shamika. The roles are definitely not cookie cutter. A lot of times I see a lot of teachings, there's kind of like it's kind of like this cookie cutter wife, but certain wives don't fit into every single situation. So I'm just hoping that we can probably offer some more insight on that. So hallelujah.
That's right.
Shalom, everyone. I am Sister Kyle. My husband is Zaquan. Everybody knows him as Zaquan. And we've been married for 10 years. It's been definitely a blessing. It's been a lot of growth, and that's really what it's all about. Learning who you are. When you get married, you think you know who you are already, but definitely having a husband allows you to see the beauty in being a woman and being a mother and being a wife and all those things. So all praises to the Most High for that. And I definitely agree with the other sisters that I pray that the Most High gives me wisdom and everything that I'm speaking today, that it may touch someone or a few someone's, so that they may grow and just learn to endure, because everything ain't always great, but everything is definitely worth it. So may the Most High dwell here on this platform today.
That's beautiful. Everything ain't always great, but it's always worth it. That's wisdom right there. So we're gonna just go ahead and jump into the first question. I'm gonna put the question in the chat if you can see it on Zoom, in case you need to refer back to it. But the first question is, what am I doing? Close all the windows, Tamar. Okay, the first question is, what are some common assumptions about the role of a wife? So again, what are some common assumptions about the role of a wife? I see a typo. How did I do a typo? And it's me typing to myself. Okay, all right. So Shamika, you were.
Okay. Okay, so first disclaimer, and I think I can speak for both my sisters because we had a previous conversation, that we are all a little bit nervous. So every thought that we thought we had in our head might go out the window. So if you hear a few uhs and uhs, give us some grace. But it probably sounds cliche, but I think I'm gonna say a lot of cliche stuff today too. So I think that we are only good for an assumption that I see is that we are only good for like cooking and cleaning and stuff like that, when the scriptures don't really support that at all, especially if you I'm a very big advocate of Proverbs 31. If you really read and dig into it, she did not only stay in the house, and it looked like a lot of her work was outside the house as well. She just lent a helping hand to the home and for different marriages that may be different. It may be financial, it may be cleaning, it may be whatever. It's just not that our job is to have babies and cook and clean. That's just not it. Because we are so smart, so talented in so many different ways. And the Most High gave us those talents and gave us those gifts, so we are to use them. And if you are married, 9 times out of 10, that gift is going to be of great use to you and your husband, and supporting it to do both y'all a disservice if you bury that to just cook and clean and have babies. The other assumption that I see a lot is, I don't know if it's a role thing, but I think it's a woman thing, as far as like women being weak. Like the weaker, to me, or from my studies, the weaker vessel was more of a emotional thing, not so much a physical or incompetent thing, like you not capable of something. Because if you look at the Judas and again the Proverbs 31 woman, ain't no way them can be weak women or unlearned women. It's no way that they, hold on, I had it, hold on. I don't know, I just don't see the weakness in it. I think that it takes a lot to even run a household. You can't be weak running a household. You dealing with children all day, you dealing with your husband, and then the duties of the home, be it bills, work, or whatever. You can't be weak and accomplish those things. So those are the two assumptions that I see a lot.
Kawana.
Okay. Hallelujah. And those are great things that you brought out, Sister Shamika. And I was kind of thinking along the same lines because I'm going back to conversations that I've actually had and things that I've actually seen and things that I've seen posted about the assumptions that I've seen with the role of the wife. So kind of to piggyback off of what you were saying, what I found was that her goal, or her only goal, should be to be just a mother. And not saying that being a mother is not, a great thing, but I'm saying that her only goal should be to be a mother, to cook and clean, and also to keep her husband sexed. And that's it. That she should not have any other goals or ambitions outside of that. She does not or should not have any thoughts, opinions, or ambitions of her own. She doesn't have any words of her own. And that also that her feelings or thoughts in terms of family planning, family growth, goals, or direction is irrelevant to the family. I've seen a lot of that. So, which is interesting to me. And so then when she does have an opinion, then people seem to be shocked, or maybe even her husband seems to be shocked. Like all of a sudden she has this thought, but she was never asked or never considered as to what her feelings or thoughts or anything about those different things. Also, that her thoughts should not be irrelevant, because a lot of times the wife can see things that her husband may not necessarily see. So her goal, part of her purpose, I don't want to go into this too much, part of her purpose is to like look around and to be able to have her head on a swivel and see some of the pitfalls and things like that her husband may not see. So if she doesn't have any thoughts and feelings of her own, then she's going to fall right over into that same ditch with you. So, so those are some of the assumptions that, I commonly see played out, that I see her commonly being played on. Oh, wait a minute, hold on, I had some more as well. I forgot, I put some notes down for myself. Another thing that I see a lot is that her direct relationship with the Most High, or her understanding of the scripture, is insignificant. I really don't understand where that thought process comes from, especially because she's going to be the teacher of your children. So that's something that's extremely important her understanding of the scriptures is definitely important, because sometimes the husband can't always be there. So she's going to have to be the one that's going to make sure that everybody is still falling in line with the teachings of that household. Another thing that I see a lot, and this comes from both non-wives or, other women and, sometimes men, that being a housewife or a stay-at-home mother is not a real job and is insignificant within itself as well. That stay-at-home wives, they don't have any thoughts or ambitions. They just basically stay at home, play with the kids, or if their kids go to school, I don't know what people think they do. I think they just think they sit at home and just eat all day. And another thing that, or last thing I want to say, is that a stay-at-home wife or mother cannot or does not get burnt out. And I've met and talked to and counseled a lot of sisters who are hanging on by a thread because they're burnt out. And their husbands don't realize how close she is to burning their house down, because she's tired. She's mentally tired, she's emotionally tired, she's spiritually tired. So those are some assumptions that I definitely see that really needs to be addressed within our community.
Okay, well, Sister Rod, that was real, that was heavy, and you just really, what I'm saying, like, made me consider some things that are definitely overlooked, a lot in our community. But one thing that I do want to say about what my sister Shamika said is that that's definitely the opposite of a Proverbs 31. The scriptures say, I have went and pulled out the scripture. The scriptures say that strength and splendor are her garments, and that she rejoices in time to come. So that tells me right there that all the work that we put in as women, as a mother, as a wife, we're confident in, because we know that we're giving it our best. We're doing what we're supposed to. We trust that, what our husbands is doing and what we're doing on our end is gonna meet and it's gonna work out and it's gonna come together for our benefit. Like, we're not worried about the future. We're not worried about things to come. We're not worried about those things in the sense of where we lack or in our capabilities for the most part. But I definitely think that as far as an assumption about the role of a wife is that it kind of ties into what both the sisters said, that we're not managers, like we are not over anything. Like, we don't have no control over anything, when in fact, we definitely need the Most High. We definitely need the Most High all the time, because if we're not checking ourselves spiritually and mentally and coming together with our husbands to make sure that we're okay, we will definitely get burnt out and stressed out. But we take on a lot that has to do with the prosperity of our home and our children's future, our nation. So we definitely have a role that's bigger than what most people might think. I know when it's just because people are lost, though. That's where the assumptions come, because I remember when I first even heard the word submit, I thought of slavery. I was like, submit. So it's not even like a thing of truth at all. Like, there's no real truth to the assumptions that come with us being righteous women. It's just a lack of understanding on, the world's part. And so there's nothing negative at all about being the role of playing the role or being the role of a righteous wife. And so I just yield with that.
All great points. And I'm gonna add just some thoughts. And I have a question that kind of popped up, and I don't know if anybody knows the answer, but I think it would be good to ask the question. Perhaps if any of the panelists know the answer, or any of the brothers on here know the answer, whether you're on the Zoom link or in the Facebook comments, I would hope somebody could answer this question after I ramble for a second. So, excellent points made by everybody. Just to Oh, I know what I was gonna do. I was gonna read real quick. My sister, not Shamika, Patricia, commented on another post. She said, "When I was single, I had to do it all: plumbing, electrical, etc. And I hated it." Now, this is just her responding to the title, so it's just funny. She said, "When I was single, I had to do it all: plumbing, electrical, etc. And I hated it. Now that I'm married to someone who can handle these things, it's a breath of fresh air. But on the flip side, I'm kind of old school. I grew up watching my stay-at-home mom deal with things concerning the home, and that seems normal to me. The challenge is when both are working out the house. Sometimes I get a little bit overwhelmed with work, school, my business, and being a wife. When this happens, my husband is kind enough to lend a helping hand to help me get things back on track. There have been times due to my work schedule where he had to cook dinner for us or do the laundry. In our household, my husband expects for me to be a keeper of the home, but helps if I need assistance." So I thought that was interesting. And she's a good sister, you know what I'm saying? And and obviously she has a business, but anyway, that was a good comment. I wanted to just kind of follow up on what Shamika said about the idea of being a weaker vessel. This is just throws out there. When you read the Tanakh, you don't really see. I haven't seen it yet. I'm reading through it now slowly, but I haven't seen weaker vessel in the Tanakh. You hear Paul saying that, so keep that, hold that, whatever that means. So then, if that's the case, right? And then of course the Proverbs 31 thing, we know that, right? People mention Proverbs 31 all the time. They got T-shirts with Proverbs 31 women on it, but the details on who she are, the characteristics are, I think, hardly ever, like, they're acknowledged and they're read, but I mean internalized to see what does that mean, right? And she's a wife, obviously. And also, Genesis 2:18, which everybody knows, right? It was not good for the man to be alone, so he needs some help. And why would he need help if he had it all together? So to the point about the women, assumptions of the woman or the wife, she can't contribute to the household. For those people that believe that, the people I know now don't think that, but the people I used to know, it was a common thought. So, but it's contrary to scripture. And then also, just real quick, somebody was running down it was Kyle running down the characteristics in Proverbs 31, and it talks about her strength. I think she's clothed in strength and splendor, I think is what you called it. And it just reminded me of the comment of the strong Black woman, which is a totally different construct, but it popped up in my head. Strong Black woman, we hear it a lot. And I had a brother tell me recently that it was good to see a strong woman. And I was like, what you mean? We everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So I think that there is the disconnect. Obviously, there's a disconnect between us as Black people, between the male and the female. And I think that, again, conversation like this allows us to address these chasms, and then maybe reduce them into just a little bitty like cracks, you know what I'm saying, between us. But they shouldn't be these big widening gaps where it don't even make sense of how we even see each other. So the question I want to ask real quick, I'm not sure if anybody knows. If they don't know the answer, I'm gonna try to go to the next question. But what's the origin of this whole idea of the woman being, weak and all of that? So I don't know. Does anybody know? I want to blame Victorian society, but I'm just making that up. Does anybody know the answer? Either on the panel or.
Want to hit that, Shema?
Shema, you got it.
Well, I'm not going to make it an absolute. I'm not going to say it's a fact. But I will say y'all know what conditioning is. Everybody on here know what conditioning is and the concept of it, the different strategic ways of doing it. A lot of it being through, could be forcing it on, or it can be through literature, or it could be through customs and traditions and things of that nature. I love the fact that you brought out the differences in the approach and or history within those two, the texts. We do see in Shaul's epistles or Paul's epistles things being said, and then in the Tanakh, we don't see that type of dynamic as far as the topic at hand, which you all are speaking on. We don't see that. We actually see women leading, things of that nature. this isn't to cause a battle between the two texts, but I think a lot of the approach of some of the men and or women, because women speak like this too, I see, is because they don't know the history within the culture. They're not able to decipher certain messages and certain texts. So they pick certain texts to make the pinnacle of their approach in regards to weaker vessel, stronger vessel. And that's my political answer. I don't want to go say it too, like, not direct. I'm being direct now, but more so like in a way to where it's causing a battle between two sides of the literature. I think a lot of it comes from, and I'm going to end with this, is how people are viewing it and the lack of understanding. And that causes a trickle effect of those that are around the people that's teaching it and those that are learning from it. You know, that's my answer for me.
Is it okay if I piggyback on Brother Shimon? Shalom. Hello.
Oh yeah, I was
Okay.
I was nodding my head. My bad. Go ahead.
Okay, I didn't know if we had time. Brother Shimon, I so agree with your answer. And please correct me if I'm wrong, because I know you and Brother, I forgot his name, you guys are the linguistics, you know, people. But one of the things that I know is when things are translated, that a lot of times the translator has their own biases. Okay, their own societal biases. And so when you don't fully understand the culture, which is what I believe happened, they didn't understand our culture. And so they took certain words and placed them in there without understanding what it meant for our culture. Okay, and so now we're defining or trying to fit our cultural beliefs by English understanding. Okay, so when you look at things like, I broke this down with actually our sisters in our congregation, a weaker vessel, because it was really struggling with the whole weaker vessel thing as well. And so I'm like, okay, well, let's look up the word vessel. You know, so vessel is literally a container. It's a container that holds things, right? And so being not as physically strong, right? I don't care how many weights we lift or whatever. 9 times out of 10, when you have a man that physically does the same type of work or the same type of thing that you do, they're able to physically overpower you. So physically, our bodies is not the same, period. But that does not make you a weaker person. That does not make you weaker as far as your mental abilities or your spiritual abilities or anything like that. So I think that we oversimplify that terminology that Brother Shaul used and says that overall that makes you weaker. If that makes sense. I don't know if I'm making sense. I kind of feel like I went off somewhere else. But is anybody with me? Is that making sense what I said?
It makes sense. It makes sense.
Understood.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm an interactive person. I like to hear people talk back to me. But anyway, so I think that's where a lot of it comes from, and it causes division, like Brother Shimon says. It causes division and pits the woman against the man, and vice versa. It says that, you know, in order for you to be strong, somebody else has to be weaker. So that's my thoughts.
That's
And-
what.
Oh, I'm sorry, sis. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No. This is the sisters' bill today, so I'll take a back seat.
I was just going to say kind of exactly what they said. I think it's people on the outside looking in, and they see homemaking or like even you submitting to your husband in such a way that makes you weak, but they don't see what you have on your back because they're not in your household. So the weakness comes from other, like she said, other people not really understanding what's going on, or him being bigger, you being smaller, a weak type thing. But I also think that some men have put that on women based off their insecurities. A lot of men big themselves up and make themselves this alpha male because they had not been that all their lives. And so they take this woman and break her down and make her weak. She don't come, a lot of women don't come to people weak unless they already have past traumas from like parents and stuff like that. A lot of women are made to be weak. As far as I'm just talking about, like emotionally and being broken down as a person. So men can push that narrative and make it seem like it's a majority thing that women are weak, but we all know that it's not, and we all know that homemaking and things of that nature do not make us weak, because it takes a very strong woman to handle and endure all of that. But that's all I wanted to add.
Anybody else want to say something? Zebulon, you want to jump in?
Kane, I just real brief. I ain't trying to, again, this is the sisters' bill, so I'm not trying to do too much on the show today. But I just wanted to say, just in reference to what Aki Shama said, well, actually, kind of what everybody's saying, but he kind of nailed it. And I think just out of respect for others who might have a different platform when it comes to Pauline writings, just out of respect for people's beliefs, it was, a lot of what we probably wanted to say was kind of curtailed a bit. But I'm going to say this, that the literature says what it says. Now, I'm not a proponent of Pauline writing, so it's not something that I have to deal with. I'm a Tanakh-based Hebrew. So, the idea of making women lesser than the man, that doesn't exist in Hebrew thought. So it's not something that I have to wrestle with, or individuals who are coming out of the Tanakh. We don't have to wrestle with that. We prefer that our women be kind of somewhat on par, because again, what CEO hires a weak COO? It doesn't make sense. If we have a company, a corporation, if you're a slacker, why do I need you here? You got to go. Listen, and so, like my teacher always said, 5149, you got to be on that platform, whatever like that. So the idea of weak vessel, again, that's for, for individuals who are dealing with the Pauline platform. And if that's what you deal with, then, more power to you. But from a Torah Tanakh standpoint, you can't find that in any of the literature of the Hebrew scriptures. It's just not there. In fact, anyone like the sister, I think it was Sister Kyle or was it Sister Shamika? I'm not sure which one, but when you brought out Proverbs 31 is, once you get past the whole, who can find a virtuous woman part, it gets into some real heavy stuff. And the type of woman that's being described there, and mind you, it's a mother telling her son this. This is a woman teaching her son what to look for in a woman. And once you get into the text of that, you realize that literally, what manner of woman is this? And this is the reason why she's asking them, who can find a powerful woman? Because remember, the first few verses in that chapter, she's going in on what not to look for in a woman. Like, don't go for these silly chicks, these fast women who whatever. Like, no, avoid that. This is what you look for. And these are powerful women that she's instructing her son to look for. But the flip side to that is that if we're gonna do Proverbs 31, if we're good now, I'm stating this emphatically now. If we're gonna do Proverbs 31 type of woman, then there's some things that have to be removed, and one of them is we have to remove the idea of that misnomer of being a strong woman, because what's happening is the strong woman motif in Proverbs 31 is factual, but women today, and I'm speaking about African American women, not necessarily Hebrew women, because you don't really see that much amongst Hebrew women doing this, but among African American women generally, you see women being hard-headed and difficult and being headstrong and confusing it with being a strong woman. Those are not the same things. A woman doesn't, a strong woman doesn't have to be loud. She doesn't have to be contentious. She doesn't have to want to throw her hands up to a man and think that she's going to do physical battle with a man. That doesn't make you strong. That's setting you up for a very bad fall. literally and figuratively. So what a lot of our women and the women that I've come across, of course, in the congregations that I've frequented over the past couple decades, these are the type of women who their thing is like, I remember the sister one sister who I courted many years ago, and her attitude was like, hey, listen, I don't have time to be up in my man's face all day. So you out there with the brothers, y'all out there taking care of business. Well, I'm out here taking care of business with the sisters. We over here feeding the homeless. And I'm like, yeah, hallelujah, let's go, or whatever. And so when you see that strength there, that strength is not a challenge to a man. The strength of a woman is only a challenge to those who are fronting like men. And I wanted to say that so that brothers understand that when you see strong women, if you're a man, that should turn you on. And vice versa. When a woman sees a man, a strong man, if she's a woman, if she's a Proverbs 31 woman, and she sees that strength, she doesn't see it as a challenge to her womanhood. She sees that as, oh, hell yeah, this is what I'm looking for. Let's move. And so just to wrap up that point, I just think that the narrative has to change, because some of the literature that we're using it out of context. Now, again, briefly, Paul, he makes certain statements in, I believe it's Corinthians. I want to say 2 Corinthians, about, suffer not a woman to teach or to usurp the authority of a man. One of the things that we got to remember about that is that he's specifically talking about a certain audience. There's an audience that he is directing this to. He is not directing this to women who already have themselves straight. These are not Torah women he's addressing there. He's addressing women who are in the habit of usurping men. So you can only use that text if you're referring to women whose whole agenda is to usurp the man, replace him, and establish matriarchy. Now, that's when you can apply that text. Like, I can apply that text if you're dealing with the average African-American women, because that's their agenda. Their agenda is, to hell with the men, men ain't about nothing, it's about matriarchy. Then you may want to implement that. But you can't implement that to a woman who is teaching and is keeping Torah and is powerful and strong in that Torah. It's not the same argument. So again, if you're dealing with women who are in the Torah, who are in these scriptures, who are keeping the words of the prophets, and in some cases, if you're keeping the words of Yeshua, the Mashiach, whatever the case, even more so. If you're keeping that, then your strength cannot apply to that text of Paul, because Paul is not talking to you. He's talking to another type of woman. Now, I'm only assuming that that's what Paul's intention was. Whatever his intention was, that's his business. But in reading the text, the first thing I think is, well, wait a minute. He's saying that suffer not a woman to teach or to usurp the authority of a man. Well, what type of women usurp the authority of men? Women who clearly don't understand the Tanakh, because you don't see this happening with Tanakh women, because they're like, listen, I don't have to usurp his authority because I already have authority. I'm over here doing this. I'm a COO of the company. I don't have to go to war with my CEO. The only women the only women that he could be talking to is women who are janitors in the company, who are trying to be the CEO. No, this is not your discussion. This is not your part of the show. So with that said, I just wanted to, I know I kind of went a little further than I needed to go, whatever, but I just wanted to put that out there and just definitely commend the sisters on the show who's bringing it out, who, as far as I'm concerned, bringing it out the way that it needs to be brought out, that there has to be a change in the narrative of, what constitutes a strong woman and what constitutes, all of this, the weaker vessel thing. So I definitely want to commend you, sisters, and continue to keep bringing out what you're bringing out. And with that said, Most High bless and guard.
Hey, tell her about too, as I'm not for bringing that out. I know one of y'all knew the answer to it. I knew it. Oh, so the next question is, oh my, why am I, see now my children are acting up. Okay. So question, I'm gonna say the question real quick and I'm gonna dip out and handle my children. Okay. It says, the next question is, what does it actually mean to be a wife? The second question, what does it actually mean to be a wife?
Okay. So I wrote down notes, believe me, y'all, but it's not, my answer is not exactly how the question is presented. So I would say, in my experience, what I found issues with being a wife and what I found helped my marriage in being a wife. Number one for me would be the husbands have a very big role. And I'm gonna give this disclaimer. When I'm talking about husbands, in this instance, I'm talking about husbands and wives who are trying their best to be righteous, who are actually doing the roles that the Most High assigned to them as a husband and as a wife. So for me, to my husband, who is playing his role as the leader in my house, I found that his role is very, very big. And I feel like my job is to lighten the load. And I know I work too. I have a business and I take care of the children and everything like that. And he helps, but I know he also deals with a lot. And I can get so caught up sometimes in taking care of the kids, aggravation from customers and stuff like that. And he don't do nothing wrong but come be his silly, loving self. And I snap on him just out of not even paying attention to what I'm doing. I'm just snapping because I'm aggravated. And I'm like, okay, leave me alone, not right now, type thing. But I had to learn as a wife to create an atmosphere of peace for him, of peace and love, because I was not providing that. And I'm still learning how to do that. I was not providing that in a way that I should, especially when he doing all that he's supposed to be doing. And I'm doing what I'm doing, but he doing everything he got going on, but still was able to come and show me love and affection and things like that. And me putting all the weight on my back, not paying nothing else no mind, because I got tunnel vision on everything that I'm supposed to be taking care of. I neglected to be his peace or his love and things like that. So I think that we should, as a wife, my role is to lighten his load, be his peace whenever I can, and I feel like I'm a watchman for my husband also. I'm talking about over everything. People, he do a lot of lives and stuff like that. And if I see people going off or taking things he's saying the wrong way, I'm in the comments, boom, boom, boom. I'm screenshotting, address this, address that. We outside, we rotting. He got bad vision, I got good vision. I can see miles down. Police right there on your right side. Be careful, slow down, type. You know what I'm saying? I want to see the things that he can't see because I want to help him in ways that he don't even know he need help. So that's why I try to be a watchman over him. And another thing that I think that we don't do enough, and maybe at least when I came in, people were telling me that we was wrong for this, but we are friends. We are best friends. And it was husbands telling my husband that she not your friend. You her head, that's the end. But marriage can be very, very heavy. Situations come up, arguments come up that are very heavy. And we remember our friendship and we go back to the friendship to get it, because I know some men are, they shut down and they're not really expressive. but we've built a friendship and a bond, so he trusts me with that, with his feelings and stuff like that. So when it's too heavy for us as a husband and wife, we revert back to the friendship, because that's a lighter area for us, and we able to calm down, put away that heavy stuff, and just talk as friends and come to a conclusion that later on helps us, you know, in our marriage or whatever, or fix whatever issues that we have. And I wanted to read this because it's a scripture in Sirach. I don't know how many people, you know, go into the Apocrypha. If you don't go into it for anything, I go into it for wisdom. But in Sirach, chapter 26, and let me give this disclaimer. We are women and we know how we are. We can be a burden sometimes, emotionally, because we get in our feelings a lot and we take stuff, you know, too far. It could be a little argument or whatever, and we blown up about it. So we know that emotionally we can be a burden sometimes, and that's stressful. You can cause stress in your marriage and stress for your husband. So Sirach 26, chapter 26, verse 1, it say, blessed is the man that hath a virtuous, and the brother already said that virtuous is a strong woman, a woman of the Most High. So blessed is the man that has a virtuous wife, for the numbers of his days shall be doubled. A virtuous woman rejoice her husband, and he shall fulfill the years of his life in peace. So I think those are things that we need to keep in mind, because we add stress on top of stress that they already going through, and we need to lighten those loads and not be a burden. I told my husband I was gonna say this. He told me don't say it, but we are supposed to be their ribs. We supposed to be, you know, flesh of their flesh, bone of their bone type thing. And I told my husband, I've learned that nobody likes burnt ribs. So you cannot be a burnt rib. Don't be a burnt rib to your husband. That's a burden.
Wow.
Teeth hurting, nasty. That's a burden. Okay. Don't do that. But lastly, I'm gonna say, where was it? I wrote it down. Hold on.
Yeah, just to let you know, Sister Shamika, yeah, that right there, I'm adding that. That's new doctrine right there. Burnt rib, that's official doctrine now.
Oh my goodness. So, but lastly, I would say, we have to, as wives, a lot of women that I've come across, I ain't saying everybody, but some women that I come across love people, you know, because of something. Oh, he got a good job, or he whatever, so I love him. We have to learn to love our husbands unconditionally. Through small fights, big fights, whatever, I love my husband just because. I don't love him I don't love him because he do something. I just love him, and I love him through whatever form he going through, and I'm going to continue to love him through whatever form he becomes, because we continue to grow, and nothing he can do can make me not love him, because then my love will not be unconditional. So I think we have to find that space and get into a space of unconditional love and stop loving people if or because. And I'll yield there.
Hallelujah. That was awesome points, Sister
I almost
Shamika.
cried on that last thing she said. I just want to say that, y'all. I almost cried.
That was
That
heavy.
was beautiful. Yeah, definitely. So for me, I kind of struggled with this second question at first. Well, what is a wife? And I was trying to figure out how to sum her up, how to define a wife, because wives are so multifaceted. And so when I prayed, the Most High led me to Genesis, or Bereshit 2:18, which is, you know, breaking it down to the most basic model, when he speaks about making a suitable helper for the man, or what the Most High dropped in my spirit is a counterpart or a counterbalance. And so when you look up what a counterbalance is a weight that balances out another weight. And so so what I was given is a wife is or should be a counterbalance to that man. Her gifts, her skills, her abilities, all those different things should fit the missing pieces that that man needs in order for him to complete the vision, goals, or the mission that the Most High has given him. The wife fulfills a purpose, and she brings symmetry to that man. This is seen throughout scripture, and specifically you see a vivid model of that within the Proverbs 31 woman. So, you know, she's not just there taking up space. She's not just there, you know, just, you know, cooking and cleaning. Not saying those things are not important or whatever, but she should be able to bring something specific to that man with helping him to complete the things that he needs to be able to complete in his life, being that counterbalance. I noticed with my husband, you know, he talks about it a lot. He just left the room, I'll let him talk about it. But he talks about me coming into his life and balancing him out and helping him to not be so extreme in certain things. And so in that I've kind of helped even out certain things in his life. And so, you know, I'm thankful that the Most High was able to, you know, utilize me in that way. So I think when people are looking for spouses, or when you know, you are a woman and you're considering becoming a wife, that's one of the things that you need to consider. What are my skill sets and how does it fit into the vision or the mission that this man has, and whether or not it is a good fit.
Heavy, heavy.
Yeah, well said.
That's right. I didn't get to say that on the street, y'all. So yeah, I'll be taking advantage on this show. Dad got on me about that too. He said, "You're not a real Israelite if you didn't say yeah, that's right on the street."
Yeah, if you don't say that, yeah, that's right, you're a slacker. You're off.
Okay, go ahead, Kaya. My bad.
Okay, so to me, I think what it means to be a wife is just knowing what to do. You know, like, you know your husband, you know your children, you know you know the things that are needed, what's not needed, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. You know, it's standing on your own in a sense when it comes to when you kind of are getting unraveled. You know, it's not saying that you can't reach out to somebody to talk, but then you can only talk so much before you have to really apply anything that the Most High shows you, or that, you know, an elder shows you, or, you know, a sister, a friend gives you advice. You know, I know, like, you know, I've been, and I know, you know, a lot of sisters, I won't say a lot, I know some sisters, you know, that struggle with being a wife, you know, and sometimes I have to check myself and be like, how you don't know? I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. You know, you have to really, really figure out what it is that you're married for, why you got married, you know, were y'all friends, like Sister Shamika brought up, you know, understanding how to play your cards, when to move, when not to move, you know, when to bring out, you know, this move and when to keep it, you know, when to say something and when to not say something. Like, you have really got to hold it together, because, you know, this company, this family really relies on you. Like Chief said, what CEO is gonna hire a weak CEO, or one that don't know what to do when they're not around? So, you know, being a wife is definitely understanding who you are as a woman and understanding your family, you know. And if you can't get that together, you know, sometimes you got to know when to fast and pray, when you got to set yourself apart, when you have to be like, hey, I need this time alone. I gotta get myself right. To, you know, you have to be able to uphold the things that you vowed to be a part of, you know. And so it's no backing down. You got to understand that that's strength in itself. There's no saying I changed my mind, you know. Like there's definitely um abuse, you know, that goes on, and I'm not saying stick around for that, but you guys know I'm talking about as far as being a wife. You can't just neglect those duties because you felt like you didn't have a good childhood, you didn't have enough time, you know, with your friends. You can't do those things. You really got to step up to the plate and know that a wife isn't a light duty. And so when you understand that, then I think you know, you'll make room for the Most High in your life, you know, because if you thinking that you got it together, then you're not gonna heed anything. You know, you're gonna have an issue of pride. You're gonna have an issue of self pity. You know, you're gonna have all these issues that are destructive to any marriage. So, I mean, I think the sisters are definitely brought out a lot, and And so to sum it up, you just have to know yourself, and that courting process that you guys talk about often is very important. You know, that comes with getting to know you and your husband. So you need that. Shalom.
That's right.
Yeah, all good points. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in live on the live stream and commenting. We see all y'all comments and stuff. And so I'm just gonna just say a few words just in reflect on what was already said. Uh-oh. I'm back. All right. So question again is oh, what's the question? I don't know. Oh, what does it actually mean to be a wife? That's the question. Okay. Oh, so then I was just thinking, and I'm just gonna ramble because y'all say stuff, I'll try to write stuff down. But I guess the first thing I'll say is that outside feedback that basically contradicts. This is for those who identify themselves as a Hebrew and who are, and not just that, but also who believe in following the Bible as their lifestyle, right? So any outside feedback that would contradict that, the Tanakh specifically, I was just thinking it's an enemy of the rebuilding the Black family. So I was talking to my sister the other day about a situation, and what was I talking about? Building the Black family. Oh, I know what I was talking about. We was talking about something. I'm not gonna say what it is, but I was telling her that sometimes, you know, we take some of the things that we are beginning to understand, and we use it to fight, you know, the idea of white supremacy. You know what I'm saying? So it'll be on the same plane as white supremacy, which is basically stupid, and we'll take another stupid argument or illogical argument or anti-Tanakh and try to make that fight what the world is saying. So all I'm saying with that, it probably makes sense, but all I'm saying with that is that we can't, like I think Zebulon said a long time ago, we can't take worldly ideals and try to make it fit into the Bible, you know what I'm saying? Or fit into how, and again, I think we already said everybody's marriage is going to be different. I think that's a fact. So how we you know, keep Leviticus 15 in our particular house may be different than how somebody else does that, especially the uncleanness laws, you know what I'm saying? So, but the fact that we still trying to keep the law, I think, is the leveling playing field that we all say we want to do. But I just want to throw it out there. I think a lot of times we'll you know, go to a self-help book or counseling or whatever. Not that anything against any of that. I'm pro-counseling, but we'll take concepts that don't necessarily jive with what the book is saying, and the book should always be our priority. It should be the final word, so that it's not nobody's personal word or opinion. It is the word of God that we say we believe in. So that's what I'm gonna say about that. Then also, the comment about us being emotional. And I think I've heard that a lot of times, and I think that's true. But I would just refer back to what Maurice Shalem said last week about that being part of the job in a marriage, is that we balance each other even in that respect. So yes, the woman may be more emotional. I mean, let's just be honest. This is women right now, right? And this is kind of, I'm gonna say this real quick because I think it's ignorant when people say it. So, you know, if you are having a bad day, they'd be like, "Oh, you on your period? Are you PMSing?" Like, that's so disrespectful and ignorant, right? There are things that happen in a woman's body each month that that are traumatic. You know, childbirth is traumatic, but so is a monthly cycle process. It's a whole bunch of stuff that go on that a lot of us don't even women don't even know why they feel the way they feel. So with that in mind, I think it's good to acknowledge that yes, we are kind of emotional and that we do think a lot about stuff, but that's the way, like the period thing is the way the Most High made us. That we didn't raise our hands and say, let's have a period. You know what I'm saying? So I'm only saying that to say that yes, we can be, it could be heavy to a brother to be like, damn, like why you tripping again? You know what I'm saying? But it takes a certain type of man and a certain type of woman to even enter into a marriage. If you are a woman that knows that you know, get moody and go through, you know, because some people have really bad health problems, endometriosis, things that really make them feel like trash, then, and you don't have a husband that will, you know, understand you and be there for you, then it's probably not a good situation anyway. So, and then also the comment about 11, you know, our men unconditionally, I think I understand the sentiment behind it, but I think, and somebody already said it, I think Shamika said it, or maybe Kyle said it, right? We're not talking about abuse. If you're being abused, loving your husband unconditionally, like, what is that? You know what I'm saying? Like, so we're not talking about situations that are harmful, because marriage is not about harming the other person, whether it's the man to the woman, or the woman to the man. Ideally, you should be in a situation where y'all are equally yoked in ambition, drive, attributes, not just thought process, but like are physically already doing the work, so that when you see your husband or the husband sees the potential wife, he can look over and be like, dang, she's doing the same thing I'm doing. What's up? You know what I'm saying? So, so I wanted to point that out, because I think the unconditional, loving somebody unconditionally is part of the Shema said Pauline doctrine. I think you said it, maybe you did, maybe it was Zebulon. I'm sorry, when y'all said use the word Pauline, which is funny. But I think that you see more of that, like in the New Testament, again, not the New Testament is wrong, but the whole, you know, basically, you know, basically if you do right as a wife, then your husband, then you're gonna win your husband over. And I'm like, that ain't, I don't know. And last thing I'm gonna say in my rant on this question is you know, when you look at the story of Ruth and Boaz, right? Boaz was a man of means. He was, which is not the end of the world, but I'm just pointing out the facts. He was a man of means. He was an older gentleman. He was already treating Ruth like a husband would have before he even ever considered touching her. So that's characteristic that he saw. He saw her work ethic. And the same thing with Ruth. So I'm just for the women, because this is a women's show. She saw his kindness enough to cover her, even without the stipulation that I'm covering you, so now give me some. So these are our ancestors. These are people we say we believe existed, and they operated in a way that was still respectful, but they took care of one another without any expectation that they would even give anything back. So, so I think that's probably what unconditional love looks like. At least in my mind, unconditional love looks like I'm gonna do right by you because it's the right thing to do with nothing in return. But I think still there are still standards. Boaz was keeping the law. Ruth was keeping the law. You know, they were all in a specific culture, which I know Kawana mentioned earlier. They were in a specific culture, so it wasn't a whole bunch of, like, you know, in you know, the society we live in now, and even I'll just bring up Mars Hill, for example, right, in the New Testament, in the book of Acts. There's a whole lot of conversation that go on to try to rationalize how we should be, but not enough implementation of what we say we believe. So I don't know, I just look forward to the point where not that we stop talking about it, but that the things that you know to do them. And we can sort out the rest of the stuff later on, but the things we already know we should do them, I think those are the things that will ultimately define clearly who is a husband and who is a wife, because they'll be doing what a husband and a wife does before they even get married. So that's my thoughts on that. Did anybody else want to say anything before we get to the last question? I'm gonna mute myself.
Can I say something?
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Shema.
I know it's a woman's show, but you know, just wanted to kind of comment on some things that we said, if it's okay, you know, like you did last week for the men. I'm gonna go backwards. I think I like the one thing you had said about you brought out the new when it spoke on, like, you know, acting a certain way and they could change the approach of of your man, in a sense. Me paraphrasing it. I think that was what, Peter? Was that Peter? Somebody correct me. I think it was
I
Peter.
think it's Peter, yeah, 2 or 3, one of them.
Second Peter.
Yeah.
I get the concept behind that. But that's what, like Chief Zeb would say, if I'm not mistaken. He would say something along, that's like the ideal person that you're dealing with. Like if it's just somebody that's just like lost and all about themselves, it don't matter what you do. According to the literature, Kefa, Peter, I think he was saying it more so to an ideal relationship of man and woman that wants to succeed. You know, the man might have a disagreement or might fall off a little bit, but he still has a desire to succeed in the marriage. By the approach of the woman, could actually change his way of whatever that subject is. So I get the concept, but it don't work for everybody. So going backwards, I liked what you had said about the harmful, Tamar. And then I like what Shamika, I believe it was bringing out with the rib. I want to bring this out. I know all of y'all heard this from me all the time, but I always say this. And I want to say it to the newcomers today who's listening. And this is my words. This is not the Tanakh. So I want to make that clear. It's not scripture, what I'm saying, but it's just a concept that I got from it, from rib. Okay, so we're taught that the man is the protector. That's what we're taught. I teach that the man is a protector and the woman is the protector. The man is a protector of the home, the family, but the woman is a protector of the man. I'm gonna tell you why. Now, the man is a protector of the home, the family, so that includes woman and the children, but the woman is the protector of the man more so to kind of keep the family structure pumping, alive. I kind of like what Maurice Shamar brought out. I think it was, he says something, he say that the man is did he say the spirit? What did he use?
Yes, he said spirit.
Okay, so I like that, life. Now watch this, I'm gonna show you what I mean real quick. So when you think of a rib, the rib protects the organs. The organs is what causes us to live. If you don't have that rib protecting that heart, protecting things around it, then the body dies. So when I look at a woman, or my idea of a woman, of a virtuous woman as of a rib, and I like that burnt rib thing you said too, because normally things that's burnt, it breaks apart or it disintegrates or all that good stuff. But the rib protects what causes the body to live. You know what I'm saying? It's I like the fact that y'all say stuff like be the piece, which I throw in there. I say be an additional piece, because I think that in order for man and woman to thrive in the relationship, they have to have a certain piece themselves. You know what I'm saying? Have a certain piece themselves. And then when you come into the picture, you are the additional piece. Because if you are the piece for that man and that woman, then that's you're always going to be, you're kind of going to be drained, because you're trying to give, because that person already don't have peace themselves. So I just went somewhere else with it. Long story short, I wanted to pick Lamb back off of Shamika with the rib, because it's very important. When I looked at the scriptures, when he says that this is the rib, I look at it from a anatomy standpoint, that the rib protects the organ, which causes the body was one of the main things that causes the body to live. And without that rib being a protector of the organs, of that heart, the blood that pumps and makes everything go, then the body dies. So I think the women, one of their sole purposes to me, outside of everything, is being a true rib, and just to figure out what does that consist of? You know what I'm saying? So the man has to deal with a lot of stuff outside. You do too, but I think it goes both ways. You know what I'm saying? We both have to do it with each other. But coming in, you're protecting his heart. You're protecting his spirit. Vice versa. But that's why I look at a rib as. I just wanted to add that. That's it, y'all. I don't want to take over the show.
Okay, I wanted to say something. Tamar, you said about, it's funny that you said that because I wrote it down over the days. I've been thinking about it, but I did not say it because I was all over the place while I was talking, so I didn't get to hit that point. But when you said that the elder said that the man's job is to protect our emotions and spirit and stuff like that, I actually came up with the burnt rib off of that because I want, and that's where I came up with like the, protecting his peace. Now, when I'm saying this stuff, I'm looking at it like my brothers, my elders taught me here on this platform. 51:49. I'm looking at it in that aspect because the men said everything that they had to say. So when I say be his peace, I'm not saying that he can't be yours too. I'm just saying, lambacking, piggybacking off of what was said last week. I think, these are things that we should incorporate if we don't already incorporate those things. But I wanted to say, when he said, protect her emotions and her spirit, I 100% agree with that. But I also know that that can be a burden, which is where the burn rib come in at, because as a woman, before you go into marriage, you should absolutely, or before you go into courting, you should check yourself, check your spirit, see what everything that you need to flush out and get rid of before you enter that. Because he as a husband, we're going to get emotional women. As husbands, they're going to try to uplift us and, be loving towards us or whatever the case. But it is unfair for you to bring in emotions and burdens and things that he cannot have control over because he did not cause. So the cleansing of yourself and your spirit and trying to hash out past heartbreaks and past traumas lightens the load on him, because he could be trying with all his might to protect your spirit and protect your emotions, but he can't do it because he don't know where it's stemming from. But you have not expressed those things or worked through it. So that's what I mean by like protecting his peace and protecting your own peace too, because it'll eliminate a lot of harm that can be done in a marriage when you come with so much baggage and so much trauma. And then I agree with Tamar about the unconditional love thing, which is why my disclaimer at the beginning was I'm only speaking for people who are righteously under the Most High, and a righteous husband and a righteous wife, because you cannot love everybody in that manner, because people will take advantage of you and will hurt you. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, and it reminded me of something I had read recently. I'm sorry, Kawana.
That's okay.
Yeah, where it's talking about, we're not each other's therapists, so you don't get married to go to therapy, right? So I think that's, now that you explained it, that's what I hear. That's what I hear you saying. And I'll just say this thing, and Kawana, you can go up next. So it's just another emphasis, because we're talking about the process of becoming a wife, and so before you decide to do that, then you have to do individual work. And I think we talked about trauma before on the show. We talk about it a lot. So it's being able to communicate, being self-aware. So being able to communicate what you're thinking, what you're feeling, so that your husband don't have to deal with it, right? But your husband or your wife is not your therapist. I think that's well said. So go ahead, Kawana.
I was just gonna piggyback kind of on what Shamika was saying, just about the emotions. Because you hear all the time that women are emotional, and so I think the brothers, and one of the brothers, please jump in, and correct me if I'm wrong. I think a lot of times the brothers, it's not that they don't expect for us to be a little bit emotional and for us to have emotions. It's unchecked emotions. Is when we're having fits of rage, when we're throwing temper tantrums, when we don't get our way, when we're bringing emotional issues into something that should be logical. things like that. So we have to learn to check our emotions. And sometimes it's not even trauma that causes us to have those type of things. Sometimes some of us are just spoiled, just plain spoiled, and have the princess spirit and think that weird things are supposed to go our way at all times. And so then we start to go into, things that are manipulative in a lot of different ways. So we have to check ourselves in checking our emotions and not having knee-jerk reactions to every little thing that people or our husbands or somebody in one that we're courting say or do. Take a second and take a step back and say, okay, does this really cause a reaction? Does this call for a reaction right now? Why am I, having this knee-jerk reaction where I feel offended so quickly by what it is that's being said or what it is that's being done? And how do I articulate this properly so that they can understand where I'm coming from and not from a place of emotions? Because that's the other thing too. I hear a lot of sisters say, well, I've said this to him, I said this to him, I said this to him. But then when we sit down and we do couples counseling, the way that you said it, he couldn't hear you. And then they're so confused as to when my husband says it to them or when I say it to them, they're able to receive it. They're able to hear it. They couldn't hear you through all the hollering and screaming and crying and going on that you was doing. They couldn't hear you. It's not that they didn't want to hear you, but they could not hear you because you was doing too much. So that's all I want to say about that.
Yep. Indeed. Zebulon, I asked Zebulon to bring out something. I'm not sure if he's ready or not, but if you are, Shema.
Can I say something real
Go ahead,
quick?
Shema.
I'm sorry, this will be 1 minute. What Sister had brought up, Kwana had brought up, is freaking amazing to me because this just happened to me. Chief know about it. Kwana know about it. I don't know if you know, Tim. I ain't talked to you, but I was literally just talking with somebody and getting to know them, and I decided to take the sabbatical, and I get this what do you call that, testimony right now in regards to what she said, and they just went in on me like about my walk and challenged everything about me just because I got off Facebook. They thought I deleted them and blocked them. But then Zeb came and just reached out to me and said, man, I hope everything cool. I know you took the approach was different. So it's kind of what she was saying. It was just, and we're no longer talking after that, by the way. I don't deal with that type of stuff. So, it's funny not funny, it's ironic that she brought that out because that's exactly what took place. It was just a jerk reaction. It was without even talking, no questions involved, none of that. It was just a attack on my character and everything. And I've been consistent all across the board. So it's like some women don't see that. They just react. And men too. I like to say both. I don't ever want to put it on both, not only on the women, you all. So you're going to hear me say that sometimes, but I just can't deal with it. All right, that's it.
We gotta stop being
I just
easily
wanted to say
offended.
something. I am so happy that you said that too, because you did, Sis Sarah. Like, that was me. Like, me and my husband, we've been married longer than we've been in this walk. So definitely, I understand, like, that spoiled. That was me. Like, I thought I would tell my mama, I would be like, he don't love me, he not this and he ain't that, because I wasn't being a woman, I wasn't being what I'm supposed to be, like. Another thing that really helped me grow in this marriage is taking my focus off of him sometime, like just getting to know myself and getting to know my children is enough. That will help him too, essentially, because then when I see them and I see them interact with each other, I see them how they are at school, other children, I see how they are with me, I see both of us in our children, you know. And so just knowing when you're getting emotionally overwhelmed, or you start to feel like um, things are not going your way, or you just don't understand and you want to yell at the top of your lungs because you think somebody gonna hear you like that, like you really have to remember, you know what, he ain't no, but I don't even know what I just said because I was that mad. I don't know, you know, like sometimes you'll get so mad you don't even know what you just said because you just want to be heard. But really, you just have to seek answers from within. You know, you really have got to learn how to lean on the Most High to help your husband out, to help your family out, you know, because he can't hold your hand through everything. You know, he needs you to help. He needs you to help. So that's something that I learned. You know, not, you know, part of being a wife is not only focusing on him. You have to learn how to uh, focus on the big picture. So that's it.
Oh, can I say one more thing? I'm sorry. One of the sisters, I can't remember if it was you, Kyle, or if it was Shamika, but one of you guys had brought out the thing about, you know, dealing with your traumas and stuff like that before you get into your relationship, which is, you know, 100% absolutely true. But sometimes there are things that are hidden that you don't realize. You don't realize that it's there. You don't realize that it's dormant until somebody starts tap dancing on it. One of the things that, you know, I've taught some of the sisters that we've walked with and covered and stuff like that is you'll find out just how far you've grown, because a lot of people think they've grown further than they have. You'll find out just how much you've grown when it's tested. And a lot of times it's tested when you get into a courtship, or, you know, or you get into a marriage, and then you find out because that person is starting to test that area. Once you realize that this is a weakness, this is an area of opportunity, I like to call it, I don't want to call it a weakness, but an area of opportunity for you to grow in. Once you recognize that, don't lie to yourself and pretend like it's not there and try to reflect onto that other person and say, this is your issue. Make sure that you own your issues and
Hallelujah.
deal with your
Hallelujah.
issues.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's right. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sis. Go ahead.
No, but yeah, a lot of times we don't want to be honest with ourselves and honest about our weaknesses and honest about our issues. You have to look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, like, is this an area that I need to grow in? Is this something that is really, really going on with me? And stop trying to put it off on that other person and make it be that other person's issue. Well, you just need to say things better. Is it really that, or are you just extra sensitive? You know what I'm saying? So, you know, just kind of dealing with different things like that. So if you find yourself already in a relationship or whatever, this is not an excuse to say, well, this person has to take me now. You should always be trying to grow and make yourself better and make yourself stronger within the relationship. So I'm sorry, that's the last thing I'm gonna say, y'all.
Ken, yeah, excellent stuff. I don't really have, well, I wasn't gonna have much to say anyway, but how do you follow that? I just wanted to just real briefly, just kind of like touch on a couple things. The whole thing, I think it might have been, and I hope I'm not butchering your name, sister, Kawania.
It's Kawana. It's okay.
Oh, Kawana. Oh, yeah. Okay. That's likely. But yeah, I believe it was you when you mentioned about the issue of emotions. I'm not sure who, because everybody was kind of going in. I'm just soaking up everything. But as far as and I think Tamar may have touched on it as well, as far as the emotions with as far as men, I guess expecting women to not be emotional and whatever. I think that was the narrative that sisters were kind of like tackling, and I think unfortunately, it kind of goes back to our culture. One of the things that men did not have to do is, of course, we understood that, listen, women are going to be emotional. Emotional is not a bad thing, because number one, men can get emotional. It's emotions. I mean, do not men get angry? Do we not get sad? Do we not want to cry when you lose when I lost my father, did I not cry like a, what I'm saying? When Chief of Chiefs passed away or whatever like that, I was jacked up. That's emotions. So, I mean, I don't think that the issue is emotions or whatever, but I think like the sister said, it's the point of how far are we going with the emotions, and are we making these emotions our lifestyle? Like you have some people that just can't come out of their anger, or they can't come out of their sadness, or they can't come out of their their neck twisting, finger snapping, what they call it, sister girl kind of platform sometimes. And and I think that a lot of times when you're dealing with emotions in the household, and of course the subject came up about menstruation, that she must be on her period or whatever. Yeah, okay, yeah, that sounds insane, but think about this. In ancient times, and it kind of makes us also maybe question how we're doing things today, but in ancient times, men and women did not exclusively dwell in the same one home. There was always two homes. Why? Because there's a place where we dwell together, and then there was a place where the woman would go during nida, during menstruation. Because why? Because she could not handle the pots, the pans, the cups, the bed linen, the food. She could not handle any of these things. So therefore, she can't be in the house. So there was a second residence where she would go, and she would work that out. And and again, I'm not a woman, so I don't know all of the ins and outs of that process. I just know that it can get messy. That's all I do know. But I know, right? There was a place where the woman could go, and they could handle it, deal with it the way that they needed to deal with it. So when they were going through the emotional roller coasters that menstruation brought, it was never a hard, bang against the head thing with the man, because he's not even there. He's over here, she's over here in her second domain. So there was never an issue of being under the same roof, having to deal with these things, and the woman was given time and space to deal with, to deal with the menstruation objectively and how she wants to deal with it, and doesn't have to worry about the man not understanding or not, or feeling some kind of way. I mean, so this, I think what we're talking about now, this is a new thing. This is something that is exclusive only to the American or to the Western experience, because in the East, having more than one place of residence was the standard. Because otherwise, how do you keep the law of nida according to Torah if you don't have a second place? You can't possibly keep it correctly. So I think that a lot of times we're being forced into these unnatural elements of of dwellings and being up under each other all the time, and it doesn't give each party time to be separate, to kind of get into their own thoughts, to kind of figure things out for their own. You need that objective time and space to be separate. Like, hey, listen, go do what you got to deal with. Just like men, we go through our little things, we swirling in our heads, whatever like that. And rather than take it out on the woman, what do? We go to a gym or something like that. Like, let me go beat up on the bag or something, or let me go do whatever. Then we get, because we need that space. So I think that, now I don't know if any of us can afford two residences, but I'm just saying that at least we, there was we had that platform where we could have those separate places to deal with what we had to deal with. And I think that again, with this American culture, it's a culture that's rooted in sexism on both sides. It's a culture where women are permitted to be anti-man, and man is allowed to be anti-woman. And and this is a culture that it cultivated that attitude for centuries. So we're only the recipients of it. We're only just mimicking what we're seeing. The women are, our women are just mimicking what the other nations are doing in this country, and we as men, we're mimicking a lot of what the men of these other nations are doing, because we see that as the form of manliness. I think it was Sister Kawana or Sarah that what she brought out, that we did not have these correct role models of what manhood was, so we snatch up whatever we think is manhood. And same thing with the sisters. We snatch up that which is not of us, and we're trying to Hebraicize madness. So just with that, oh yeah, and just one other thing, the whole thing of I don't know who said it. Maybe it was Sister Tamar, about that we are that we're not each other's therapists. I think it was it Tamar. I don't want to misattribute. Who said that?
Yeah, it was me. That was me.
Was it Shema? Okay.
That was me.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't like misattributing stuff, but I think that's interesting because on one hand, I don't know if I can disagree with that. I'm like, okay, yeah, no doubt. Everybody has their baggage and they need to figure this stuff out, before they jump into these long-term contracts. But on the flip side, just to kind of, add some balance to the communication with that, I think one of the pitfalls of not being each other's therapist in a relationship is that it now creates a platform where both individuals go and figure out their issues alone. Now, what happens is that you're not a part of each other's growth now. You've grown by yourself, and he's grown by himself. You did not partake in my redemption. You did not partake in my elevation and my growth from the madness of my youth. So therefore, when it comes to that growth, when I see you, I don't see you as an active participant of that growth. And vice versa. If the woman has gone through things in her life and horrible relationships and situations, whatever like that, and that man cannot assist in her redemptive process, when she does rise up and she does come up out of that grave, whatever, she can't have those conversations with him. Why? Because he had nothing to do with it. It's just like if a woman comes into a marriage with a man, she comes in with money or whatever, and he did not partake or did not participate in her financial come up, and they get divorced. Does she think he is eligible for part of that money? Like, no, you did not partake in this business. You had nothing to do with anything of this business, so you're not entitled to that. And it's the same thing with the relationship. If we're not partaking in both of our redemption, then what is the point of even being together? Because nobody's coming into these relationships with their head screwed on straight. All of us have baggage. All of us are jacked up. Now, some of us have, and I'm not saying that this is what you're saying. Tamar, I'm sorry. Guys.
Yeah, but can I say one thing? So I had typed something in the chat thing. So that's interesting that you say that, because earlier we were talking about how women are expected to handle their emotions and not be all, oh, you need to handle that, or don't come into a relationship all emotional. It just sounds kind of uneven. So I don't want to misinterpret what you're saying, but it sounds like a woman is supposed to not be all emotional, right? If you guys saying, and not you, it sounds like I've heard it's been said to do that in isolation, but then, so maybe if you can clarify that, or maybe, or whoever said it, I'm confused.
Can I piggy on back on it? I'm sorry. Can I answer that, or choose Evelyn? Did you want to?
No, shoot, good. I'm sorry.
Okay. What I meant by that is that I'm not saying that she needs to check everything. What I'm saying is that there has to be balance. And a lot of times sisters come into situations and they're so unbalanced and they don't care that they're unbalanced. People are supposed to just take whatever it is that they're dishing out because they're emotional and we're emotional beings. And so they can come in like a tornado and tear the whole house up. What I'm saying is that there has to be balance in that. There has to be a level of accountability on her part that I'm going to work hard to try to overcome this, and then a level of accountability of understanding from the man's point of view that, okay, I'm going to help her work through this because we're already in this together at this point. So there has to be a balance that happens there. It's not like it's all on one person or all on the other person or all, well, you just have to check your emotions no matter whatever it is that you feel. There has to be a level of balance on both sides and a level of accountability on both sides. So I'm an adult, I'm going to be accountable for my actions. So, or, I've even seen sisters fully cuss their husband out and don't understand why he's still mad a week later. They don't understand. You totally disrespected him. You acted completely out of your emotions. You had a fit of rage, and now he's upset. You have to take accountability and responsibility that you did something out of your emotions, and your actions has consequences now. And so now you have to take responsibility for that and live in that space for however long. Like, no, he shouldn't be holding a grudge or anything like that, but you have to give him the space to be able to trust you again, because you've done something that has harmed him now. So, you know, I think that that's the point, that we can't just, you know, go into situations totally unbalanced, totally unhinged, and think that it's the other person's responsibility to just deal with me however I want to be dealt with.
Thank you for clarifying. I appreciate that.
Can I
Yeah.
say something?
You know, and I was just gonna say,
go
I wasn't quite sure what part of what I said was misunderstood, because I was trying to rack my head, like where was I unclear? I mean, because I was just talking, so I wasn't able to figure out what
Well,
part.
I was thinking it was more like, what I got out of what you were saying is like, you know, growing together, when you guys do have emotions that are hard to check, that's where wise counsel will come in. Instead of you always being the one to go to somebody to talk to about your spouse and your problems, and then your husband going to somebody, y'all coming together so y'all can grow together. You know, my husband and I went through that. Like, we've been open, you know, as far as our growth, but it's a beautiful thing. It really is. It seems a little embarrassing at first, you know, but you learn from it. And if you're willing to, like the sister said, you have to be willing to say, okay, you know what, I was talking crazy. Okay, that was a logical situation. I didn't have to put my emotion or my feedback into it. You know, you have to really be willing to be like, well, I only did, or not be like, I only did that because the way he said this, or I only did that because the last time this happened. You know, it's like we always have a comeback to justify why we were out of order, you know, and we have to stop doing that. That's something that we definitely have to stop doing, or we're going to be at a standstill, and you're going to be forever, you know, flooding somebody's ear with your marital problems, and that can be draining too, when you're not taking heed to anything, but you're still like coming to people with the same problem on a different platform, because it's something that you're not changing about yourself.
That is so real, Sister Kyle. Like, so real. You know, me and my husband, we went through a similar situation. I came with a lot of trauma into our relationship and in our marriage. I thought I healed. I had went through counseling and stuff, so I thought that I was okay. But then, you know, different things got triggered. And so I'm thankful because he worked with me and worked through the healing process. However, we would have never gotten there if I never got to a point of maturity of taking responsibility for my actions and for my emotions. You know, I used to do things, and I see, you know, sometimes both people, brothers and sisters, do, well, you made me so angry that I had to cuss you out. No, you chose to respond in that way. Yes, that person may have caused anger to well up in you, but how you choose to respond is on you. And you are able to take responsibility for, you know, how you display your emotions. Nobody's saying that having the emotions is sinful. I don't think so. Nobody's saying having the emotions is bad. It's how you choose to display those emotions, how those emotions come out.
It's a sin. No, I'm playing.
Perfect. And I just want to add one quick thing. Don't associate admitting, you know, where you wrong at as to things being your fault. Like, that's
Absolutely.
something that happens too. Just because you admit you wrong doesn't mean things are your fault, or you know, or you're guilty, the only one guilty. You just need to be the only one that you're taking a look at.
Oh, so I wanted to say something
good.
about what Chief said and what the sister said, because it kind of all went together for me. What Chief said about, you know, he understand about not being a therapist to each other, but also being a therapist to each other, because me and John went through that. I did come in with a lot of issues and things like that, but they weren't relationship issues. They were more so mommy, daddy type issues. But he was there to be an ear and to listen and things like that and to lend advice where he could. But he always, because we wasn't in the truth when we wasn't in the knowledge when we first was together. But later on down the line, instead of him just sitting there listening, he always directed me to the Bible, or he always directed me to the Most High and always directed me to prayer. And it wasn't until I took a step back and stopped putting it on him to like find some magical word to take away all my pain, and I put it, on myself, and I start to pray and I start to seek the Most High and ask for peace and, understanding in certain situations and stuff like that, to where I can work through it. Now, I want to be clear when I say when you work through your traumas and things before you get into a marriage, that don't mean you won't have triggers, because I still have triggers. But now, instead of putting all of that on him, I can check some of them triggers because I already know most likely what he gonna say and stuff like that. So instead of going to him crying, emotional or whatever, angry or whatever about the same thing, and knowing he gonna give me the same answer, I can go to a corner, handle that, check that, and be done with it. But sometimes where I just can't wrap stuff around my, wrap around my head, I can go to him and we'll talk about it. He'll give me advice. That's us still growing together. That's him still seeing my growth and him still seeing me through, and us still meeting. But in the same breath, I'm finding ways to not always put it on him and just take it away altogether. Give it to the Most High and let it go. So we still grow together, and he's still a part of my journey and the things that I've been through. But I've also learned how to check myself with my traumas and with our arguments. Because I'm one of them, I'm mad for 3 days type people, but lately, and he get over stuff real quick, and I still be mad. And sometimes I'll be like, what I'm mad for again? And I got to think about what I'm mad for and then get back mad about it. So I've learned to start checking myself. When I'm angry, I be mad. I ain't gonna say it go right away, probably about an hour or something, or not even that much lately. I go and I apologize and let it be done. Like she said, not necessarily meaning I'm wrong, but I'm wrong for my part that I played. So yeah, you can still grow together and, hear each other out, be each other's therapist to a point, but you also have to check yourself and work stuff out within yourself, because you may not always have somebody to go to and talk to. So you got to start learning how to check stuff out and work stuff out within
Absolutely.
you.
And I just want to say two more things, and I promise this is the last thing I'm gonna say. Sorry, I keep talking, but I just want to give another piece of advice when dealing with your traumas and stuff like that within your relationship. Let your husband know what your triggers are. I found that a lot of times where the frustration comes in with the brothers, they don't know what's going on with you. They don't know what is the problem. So if you can recognize your trigger and you can tell him, like, this is something that triggers me, or this is something that kind of sets me off and I'm trying to work through it, a lot of times they'll try to be sensitive to that. They'll try to be, understanding about that. The second thing I wanted to say is, like, when dealing with emotionalism, when you're hormonal, I'm kind of going through that right now, being pregnant. Anybody who's been pregnant, or I don't know if this happened where everybody has been pregnant, but, I've gone through like 5,000 emotions in the last, few months, the stuff just coming out of nowhere. So, but what I've been able to tell my husband is, I don't know exactly what it is that's going on. I don't know what it is happening, but I just need a little space right now to get my head together, to get my mind right, so that I'm not snapping off on you, or I'm not taking it out on you. It doesn't have anything necessarily to do with you. It's just something that's going on with me hormonally. So.
Yeah, Zebulon, did you want to bring those things up before we get to the final question?
Well, go ahead and tackle the questions, and if there's time at the end, I'll just whatever. I don't want to,
Okay, cool. So the last question is, when considering marriage, what should a husband look for in a potential wife? So for the women, what should a husband look for in a potential wife?
Okay. I think somebody said this last week. I could have made that up and it could have all been in my head, and it's just what I gathered. But for me, I think it starts with self. So for him, he should know his goals, the things that he want to accomplish, the things he want out of a marriage and out of a family, and those things. And when seeking a wife, see how she can add to that, or see how she can fit in that, you know, box. I would say make sure she fear the Most High. And I don't know. I think it's a broad question because depending on the person, you want different things. I would just say on a surface level, if a woman can be nurturing, if a woman could be a partner, a help, and like the elder said, if he the CEO, she the COO, if she can do that, then I think if y'all in court and if y'all worked out the do's and the don'ts, or the logistics of it all, growth can happen, and a person can adapt to anything. So as long as you've mapped out what exactly you're looking for in a wife, then I mean, go for it. I don't know. I don't know. Tamar, I didn't court. Okay, don't look at me like that.
Was that it, Sister Shamika? I don't want to.
Yeah, sis, I ain't got it. That's all I got.
No, that was really good. That was really good. Okay. Okay, so with the things that I listed, I want to start off with a disclaimer that this is purely my opinion and based off of things that I've seen that have ruined marriages or torn marriages up. A lot of times it's just from, maybe not assessing the situation or assessing the person fully, and then being disappointed later on. So these are the things that, I came up with. The first thing I think a man should assess is her patriarchal relationships, starting with the Most High. If a sister does not have a solid relationship with the Most High outside of you, and is willing to come underneath the covering of someone that protects her or cares for her, like a father figure or elder or something like that, you're going to have a difficult time getting a sister to submit to you. It's going to make it difficult for her to assimilate into your family, and make it almost impossible for that to happen. So, if she's not submitting to the Most High, she's not submitting to His laws, statutes, and commandments, like, you could forget getting her to do anything you want her to do. Like, you might get her to act right for a moment, but she's gonna do what she want to do at the end of the day. Again, just to hit on that again, if she's not knowledgeable of the Most High on some type of level and willing to, submit to Him, and she's willing to submit to a father figure in her life, then you're gonna have a difficult time getting her to submit to you. And it's also gonna result in a derailment of the vision and the mission that the Most High has given you. The second thing is that you should assess her temperament as well. Is she somebody who and also the temperament of those who lead her. So, if you got, somebody that's, highly emotional, whether it's male or female, that's, advising her and stuff like that, and they're jumping off and popping off and stuff like that, that's more than likely gonna come out of her as well. So the other thing is, is she highly emotional in her responses? Is she easily offended? Does she dispute everything you say? Is she teachable? Does she have no thoughts or opinions at all? Because, if she's in that position, she's not going to be really any help to you either. Is she easily persuaded to go against her convictions or the things that she said that she believes in? Or does she easily follow every new doctrine that pops up? Every time something pops up, she jumps on it. You know, that's something that you that's a warning sign that you want to, look at. And so those are just a few things to keep in mind when you're thinking about her temperament and whether or not she's a good fit for you. You have to also keep in mind, that she's going to be the manager of your home, and she will, likely have to assist in making decisions, especially when you have a business, or if you have a business, or if you're super busy and you're not around, she's going to have to make decisions without you being there. So does she have the temperament that she can handle, difficult situations and be able to make good decisions and stuff like that? And she's also going to be, the teacher of your children. So is she going to be teaching your kids to be all over the place and things like that as well? So, so choosing the right woman with the right temperament is crucial to your overall success. And in my opinion, it's just as important to your overall health of your relationship, or your overall health, as it is what you put in your body. So the next thing is assess her skills or her potential skills, and how does that fit into the vision or mission that you have been given. I find a lot of times people don't assess that. They're just like, well, I'm in love with this person, I like how this person look, or whatever, or they've bedded the person and like, I like the sex that they have, and they don't think past that point. And so then when they need to plug the sister into, the mission or the vision that they've been given, or the businesses that they're trying to start, and then she don't know how to do anything, and they're frustrated, and they find out that she's not teachable. The last thing I'm going to say is you also want to assess what her weaknesses are, and are you willing to cultivate those things out of her? Are you willing to help her to grow past those things? If you're not, then you should choose a different mate that's more suitable, in my opinion, because you're not going to have the patience nor the time, and you're going to be frustrated and possibly even become emotionally, verbally, or spiritually, or even physically abusive towards her, because you're frustrated with how it is that she's behaving. So be honest about what her weaknesses are that you see, or that you might see as a weakness, and whether or not you can actually deal with those things. So those are my four things.
Amen.
Salute to that. That's
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, sis. At all, both you ladies, definitely hit everything on the head. And I will agree that the first thing, especially in this walk, you want to make sure that she has her own personal relationship with the Father, that she's respectable. Are you able to talk to her? I think that a man should, converse with her to see she can even if she even fits, into his vision, and what he sees will benefit him and his family. Is she a manager, like the sister brought out? Can she follow instructions? Even her stature, like her hygiene, how she carry herself, you know, um, is a big one, because you definitely want to keep yourself clean. You want to keep yourself clean. You want to keep the house clean. If you keep
Whole
yourself
Torah.
clean,
That's the whole Torah. Clean outside and inside. Just saying.
you want to be able to make sure that she handle herself and her duties as a wife, because I know it goes back to the assumptions that we just good for cooking and cleaning, but that's definitely a part of being a wife, making sure that you know how to provide healthy meals, for your children, and keep your house in order, keep your house decent, clean. And because if things are disorganized, like I like my desk clean. Like if you got a messy desk, some people can function like that, but I need to know that things is where I say they are. Like my husband be like, "Hey, Kyle, have you seen?" I'd be like, "Yeah." If you look in the cabinet in that hallway, on not the first one, but the second shelf, all the way to the left, like he'll be like, "Oh, okay," and it'll be there, because I keep things up in my house, and so that's definitely a form of responsibility, and you need a wife that's responsible. because you're trusting her to manage, like the sister said, she's gonna be making decisions when, for your home when you're not around, so she needs to be trustworthy. And so those are things that I would say a man should look for in a potential wife.
So when we were listening, I was listening. Thank you to everybody that just commented. When everybody was talking, I was thinking about it's like basically conducting a job interview, right? So you would, I guess, I mean, you would take a job, I guess, but we still have this period where we go in and they ask us questions, we ask them questions, we should be asking them questions, and then the courting period, I guess, would be the internship period. No, I think sounds like it.
Yep, sounds good.
So and that, huh? I'm sorry. And I think too that that's I think too that is also a big emphasis, because I was kind of playing when I said what I said about the big booty thing. So what I said in the comments was that, so basically you ain't got to be looking at if she got a big booty or not. But I was saying that trying to be funny, ha ha. But also to emphasize the importance of the physical attributes are good, because you don't want to be, I mean, can you be attracted to somebody you're not attracted to? I mean, can you ever get aroused with somebody you're not attracted to? Probably not. But that ain't the end of the conversation. And I think that the more opportunities we have to spend time with people and talk to them and watch them and see how they move before we even make a decision, even the courtship, because it's cool that you could have people around you and you just watching and observing. The same thing with Ruth and Boaz. Like, he wasn't looking for no wife, but he was checking her out. Like, who's that? You know what I'm saying? He already knew her character before he would even consider marrying her. So anyway, did anybody want to say any final words before we get ready to close out?
I want to say something. First of all, I appreciate you ladies for sharing your wisdom. And I hope that those that were listening got some great things out of it. I know I did. I also want to let people know that's probably just seeing this show and didn't see last week's show. This is not a direct attack or anything towards women. We had a man's version last week. So this is just really give some information to the men and the women individually, being the sole subject that we're speaking of. And that's it, man. Tune in. I'm sure she's going to close it out and say all that, but I just want to thank all you for having the courage that was nervous in the beginning. They said they were nervous a little bit, but Most High was with you through your message and through your wisdom. And shalom, shalom, mishpacha.
Yeah, thank you again, Shamika, Kyle, Kawana. I hope you come back, Kawana. I know you are resting, but your voice is sorely needed on this platform. I'll just say that. No pressure.
Soda. Thank you.
You're welcome back anytime you're able to. You know what I'm saying? We here, but we appreciate it, and give your husband our collective high five and hug, if you would.
Sure will.
So next week's topic is actually interesting how this thing ended. Next week's topic, Most High willing, is I do, confines, and contracts. We'll be talking about the contractual process that we talk about all the time on this show. Get a contract. So we'll be diving into that next week, Most High willing, same time. Share the video, comment on the video, have conversations offline in real life about some of the things that we're talking about, and we hope that it's useful and that you can come back and let us know what you thought about it. So grace, peace to everybody, and until next time, shalom, shalom.
Shalom.